Live. I'm Andy Andrews. You've joined me on the Blue Plate Special. We're here in beautiful downtown Orange Beach, Alabama at the Wharf, home of the famous escalator statues. Yep. And we're glad to be here with you today. Deanna Kilpatrick, good afternoon on this cold, wet day. It's wet for you. There's Justice Nyabuto watching from Kenya, Africa. Pleasure to see you. What time is it in Kenya? I'm just curious. Patricia Clapp, watching from North Carolina. You shared. Betty Rayford, good morning, California. Jeff Herring, hey buddy, how are you doing? We've got a great show for you today. We've got a packed studio here. We got a bunch of people in. A lot of Indianites. Is that what they call you guys? Indianites? I don't know. It's Alabamians and Indianians. I don't know. What would it be when you're from Indiana? I guess it used to be Indians, but now you're probably native Indianians, probably. Anyway, glad you guys are here. Also some people from Alabama here, from Bon Secour, where I had some time growing up. Bon Secour, Brights Creek, Boggy Branch. I know them all. So, my sister's here. Christy, good to see you. Serena Stull-Garner from Ferndale, Arkansas. And Chris Comer, also from Arkansas. Marcy Crosser-Taylor, hey. Snowy Pasco, Washington. You got 6 more inches last night? Oh my gosh. You know, it got, a couple of days ago, it was really cold here in Orange Beach. It was 46. It was 46. Barbara Benjamin says, hey, joining you from gray Eaton Rapids, Michigan, 22 degrees. If my math is correct, that beats 46. So, I heard from Dan Stone. Sunday morning, they were going to church, and it was minus 30. I mean, I don't even, that's just like, just lay down and die weather there, you know. So, Carlene Hurdle from Haymarket, Deanna Gilbert from Wisconsin. Whole bunch of you here, and we've got a great show. And as you know, we are going to be switching. That's right, Hoosiers. Joanna Henry says, Hoosiers. Of course. And you have your own movie, which is great. This is great. Deanna Gilbert, 4. It's minus 4 in Wisconsin, minus 4. Yeesh. You know, Austin was in Idaho last year, and it was like one morning he sent me the thing on his truck. It was minus 19. And he told me that day that somebody that was there, somebody spilt coffee on their jacket, and before they could brush it off, it had frozen. So, Jen Andrews, Savannah, Georgia. Yep. Okay, we're gonna get going here. First, before we start, you see this? I just need you to tell me if you recognize this. What is this object? Lillian, just kind of monitor the comments, and we'll just wait while somebody tells me, see if somebody can get the right answer on what this object is. Okay, we're waiting. Carlene Hurdle says, looks like a brick. Good answer. Any more answers? Any more? Or did Carlene just nail it for everybody? Anybody else? Chris Comer says, a brick. Yes, a brick. Anybody else want to? Okay, Marcy Crosser-Taylor. A treasure chest. That's a very interesting answer. A treasure chest. Kind of a heavy treasure chest. Jen Andrews says a stone tablet. Okay, let me tell you what we're doing. I wanna talk to you about creativity. And how we shift from the creative side of things, and what happens to us. You know, Matt, who is not here today, Matt and I got stuck. It's about 3 weeks ago. We were in the hunting camp. We're in a Polaris. We're in a 4-wheel drive vehicle now that's stacked up, big knobby wheels, and we got stuck. And when I say we got stuck twice in 2 different places. And if I had of me while we were stuck, we could have won some contest. You know, Matt was my guest, and so I said, hang on, you know, let me get out and take the winch cable. And so I've got boots, you know, that are like knee-high boots. And I grabbed the winch cable, unlocked the lug thing, you know, and so I start pulling out the winch cable, and I get kind of overbalanced, and I can't get my feet out of the mud. And so I like fall into this nasty, gooey swamp mud. And when I finally stand back up, I'm getting the winch cable out again. I got mud all over me, and the only thing dry are my feet. And so I back up, and one of the boots sticks in the mud, and my foot comes out, and I have to put it down to keep from falling again. So I put it down right in the mud, and then quickly get it back into my boot. It's freezing. And it took us a long time to get out of both of those, because the winch, when we pulled it out, it wasn't connected to the bar. And so when we pulled the winch cable out, it just came off. So I think a lot of people would have started walking at that point. But it took an hour, but we figured out some creative ways and got that thing out. You know, it was either that or walk 6 miles back to the camp house. And so we had a little incentive there to figure out how to do this, and we used many different methods before one finally worked. But there is a curious thing, because I've seen people at the hunting camp stick their vehicle, the winch didn't work, and they walked back. Just like we've all seen people faced with some kind of challenge, some kind of thing, and they look, and it's just, that's it. That's it. It is what it is, and they don't go to any plan B, plan C, plan D. There's no other option. But I have watched this long enough that I really believe that the only difference between creative and non-creative people, and this is the only difference between creative and non-creative, is the choice that people make under a little duress. So, roll it, you know. Have we got anything on here? Okay. Let's roll it. It's not rolling. want to say hi to some people, but we're not rolling.
Just a second.
What do you got?
I think it's disconnected.
It's disconnected.
Not the string, just the prompter.
Okay. Here we go. You got it?
Movement?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's moving now. We got a Matt's, his, what do you call it? His, I mean, I don't want to call you second string. You're not second string, but you're Matt's replacement. And it's like, hey, get in there and figure out how to work this thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Mark Lowry is on. Mark Lowry shared. Thank you, Mark. So it's the only difference between creative people and non-creative is that choice, that how they see themselves, I suppose, because it's like, do you see yourself as being able to figure it out, or do you see yourself not? You know, do you give yourself the freedom to create? Or I don't think uncreative people think about creativity. They don't give themselves the opportunity to create anything new. And so I don't think there's that much of a difference in creativity and uncreativity. In fact, I don't think those people are different. I think it's choices they make. I think there's a freedom and capacity and an ability to be creative that you choose. But what often happens is that we're conditioned away from creativity and creative thinking by certain systems as we grow up. I think that when we focus too much on constraints and restrictions, we fall into rituals of repetitive thinking. You know, you're thinking the same thing every time, oh, this is not going to work, this is not going to work. And when you think the same thing over and over, you lose the sense that you can be creative. You lose the sense that you can figure it out. I recently came across this study that I thought was fascinating. This was in 1968, and a guy named George Land and another doctor named Beth Jarman conducted a longitudinal research study to test the creativity of children ranging in ages from 3 to 5 years old. Now, if you wonder what a longitudinal research study is, which I did, I had no idea. What is that? A longitudinal study involves looking at variables over an extended period of time. And so this research can take place over a period of weeks, months, or even years. And in some cases, there have been longitudinal studies that have lasted for decades. So Land and Jarman tested okay? And this is just fascinating to me, that among the 3 to 5 year olds, 98% score in the genius level in the creative arts and creativity and thinking outside the box. Among the 10-year-olds, 30% scored at genius level, and among 15-year-olds, 12%. Now, the same test was given to 280,000 adults with an average age of 31, average age 31 years old. And you know how many scored at a genius level with the same test? 2%. 2%. And I think there's a reason for this. I think that we're conditioned away from thinking creatively when we're growing up, like I said before. And how is that? You know, by what fashion does that happen? I can think of two ways right off the bat. I think the way we parent can encourage creativity or stifle creativity. I think that, you know, that's a big part of a child growing up is the parent. And then whatever educational system somebody is in, fortunately, or stuck into, because our public educational systems right now, they were in place. The ones we have today were in place and designed during the Industrial Revolution, almost 200 years ago. And they were designed that way because they had a need then to train students in school to be good workers, to follow instructions. You don't get creative when you're working on an assembly line. And so clearly the majority of children are creative, but that creativity and creative thinking can literally be educated out of us by educational systems, especially if they continue to be constructed with the goal of providing the marketplace with workers who can do routine tasks within narrowly defined rules and regulations. And, the educational system, the public educational system in America has not changed very much in a century. They're still sitting at rows and they're all learning the same thing and all the same. And so it appears to me the only difference between creative people and non-creative people is this. When people say, because people ask me about being creative and they say, well, I'm just not a creative person. And, I just want to say, come on, really? Because I think the only difference in us or in somebody who's creative, somebody who's not creative, is somebody who's creative has developed the creative skills and is practicing them. And I think somebody who considers themselves not creative, maybe they don't know that creativity is a skill. It's not a talent. Talent is like, Josh Groban's voice. Okay? I can carry a tune, and Josh Groban can carry a tune. But there's a whole different sound coming out of our mouths. He has some kind of gift. That's a talent that I could practice from now to eternity, and I'm never going to sound like that. That's a gift. That's a talent. But now juggling is a skill. If you don't know how to juggle, I can teach you how to juggle in 5 minutes. In fact, on wisdomharbor.com, wisdom, Harbour, on the How Do I doc, we have a lesson in juggling where it teaches people to juggle in 5 minutes, because juggling it's a skill. And once you understand the pattern, and if you can throw something from one hand and catch it in another, you can juggle. So it's a skill. And so the same thing goes with creativity. It's a skill. And when you understand the pattern of thinking and then practice thinking that way, it develops. And when you're growing in America today, it doesn't matter what you're doing for a living. It doesn't matter what part of the country you live in. Creative people just have an easier time of it. People, I cringe sometimes when I hear parents say, well, my kid has ADD. And I'm like, yeah, me too. I have ADD, and I'm kind of glad I am. I understand the challenges because it's kind of hard to pay attention sometimes, hard to focus on something, but there's so many different things to pay attention to, and so anyway, I want to quickly help you in just a beginning class. This is just a beginning class, and we can all participate on developing the skill of creativity. All right? So, back to the brick. Now, what do you see? What do you see, or what can you do with it? We need answers. And just like you're stuck in the mud, we're going to sit here until we get answers. We're not hiking out. We're not leaving. We're going to come up with, 10 things that this is. And maybe 20 things you could do with it. So come on. There you go. Carlene Hurl says a blank canvas to be painted. That'll be awesome. Painted. And it's painted. It could be a doorstop. Be a nice doorstop. You could have 2 of them painted, and it could be bookends. In fact, you could paint it like a book. Make it look like a book. A block, a building block, a paperweight. Okay. Serena Garner says a paperweight. What else you got? Charlene James, the beginnings of a fire pit. Yep. A grave marker. It's kind of a downer, but yeah, we'll do that. Gail Campbell, a grave marker. A grave marker. It's a grave marker. Yep, love that. Doorstop. A panini press. You could. I had a friend that cooked chickens in a pan, and we put a brick on them to make them flatten out in the pan. So. Joyce Lambert says a house. Well, just the start of one. Joanna Henry says heat it and wrap it in a towel to use to keep food warm. A boat anchor. Chris Comer. This is a good trot line anchor. A weapon. Yeah, a weapon, that would be good. I guess if it's the only thing you got. Replaced for wheels on a heater. Okay, so like to put the thing, ramp it up. Mike Williams says strength training. Yeah, I mean, if you take a hike and get one of these in each hand, yep, you can use it as a hammer. You sure can. You can really use it as a hammer when you got wood stuff going. You're trying to get a block of wood to go in or something. But even with a nail, I guess you could use it as a hammer. What do you got? You got a prop for the head of the bed if you have a hiatal hernia. Okay. What else we got? This could be, somebody said a grave marker. This could, if you covered it with cloth, it could be a casket for a Barbie funeral. Cat Hooker says, put it in the toilet to conserve water. Okay. Kay Morrison, cover with fabric for a doorstop or to warm the foot of the bed when it's cold. How would you heat this? Just put it in the oven, I guess. Betty Rayford says a foundation block for your chicken coop. Then it could be with your chicken from growth to food. Have it under the chicken coop. Take it out when you're going to flatten him for the pan. It's a step. That's good. To press flowers. Darylyn Jung Dunmore, press flowers. Now, is that some kind of, is that like a craft? It is. That sounded like a craft, because it also sounded like something I would have gotten in trouble with from my mother. You press my flowers with a brick? But if it's a craft, Mom, it's a craft. Pound meat with it? Yep. You sure could pound meat with it. A leg of a chair or a table. You know, you could drill holes in it. Where's Matt Jack? Matt Jack out there? Matt Jack, go in my room and bring me the orange and blue brick. Barbara Benjamin says a nutcracker. Yeah, you better be careful. Because you want a nutcracker, not a nut smasher. But a nutcracker. What else you got? I don't know how many we have come up with, but let me see that. Now see, this is a brick that I painted. And I'm an Alabama fan, and these are Auburn colors. So why would I paint it orange and blue? Well, I drilled holes in the other side, and I give them, these are Auburn bowling balls. So it's an Auburn bowling ball. Something else you can do with your bricks. To keep food warm in a cooler. Like, you know, you could also, man, we got them, they're piling in now. Who's that? Betty ever said when she was a kid, one was her radio when she was playing house outdoors. And Charlie Brown, a bug exterminator, very good. Mr. Dunmore says start a new sport instead of a shot put, have a brick throw. Listen, in Alabama, that would be a natural sport. I mean, we live in 20,000 people show up to watch people throw a fish every year. There's a mullet toss here. A mullet is a fish about that long, and so every year the Floribama has a mullet toss. And when Kenny Stabler was alive, Kenny Hall of Fame quarterback in the NFL, Kenny would go over and throw out the first mullet. But there are many different things, many different answers, and the point, I suppose, is that there are many different ways to see many different things. You're never stuck. Even if you're kind of in one of these worst time of your life kind of things, people go, their default is, well, we don't have enough money, or, well, we don't have enough, time on the calendar left, or, well, we don't have the right leadership. Look, I can promise you that those are just the first thought things. Those are things that turn people and stop people. Because I promise you, in reality, you're never lacking money, you're never lacking time, you're never lacking leadership. You're only lacking an idea. Just one idea. Aaron Comer says it's all about perspective. It is. And it's choosing the perspective that you will find a way. You'll find a way. I'm going to find a way. Sometime when it appears that there is no way, that's the time that some of us have to lead people to finding a way where there is no way. There is no such thing as no way. There's a way. All you're lacking is an idea. And we'll kind of close there, but I just want to say this. Don't let me run into you somewhere in a store or in an airport somewhere, and don't come to me and say, Andy, we saw that Blue Plate special where you said that we were only lacking an idea, and we formed a committee on ideas, and all the ideas had been taken, and there were no more ideas. Don't do that to me. I had never slapped anybody, but I'm not above it. Don't think that there are no ideas. And just as you get your head around that, just remember that we put people on the moon before anybody thought to put wheels on luggage. So there's ideas. There's plenty of ideas. All right, we'll see you next week. Hopefully people will be getting well around here. See you next week. Bye-bye.